to get their opinion out there. Now, whether that means they're relying on you to respond or not is a good question. Because if it is contingent on responding and you're going to go to the teacher and say, change something, you're probably wasting your time in many cases. They're not going to change. But does it matter? That will be the question. Does it matter if the teacher changes or not? My gut feeling is it will not matter entirely, because the kid will just see things differently even as they're happening. They will see that the teacher's unreasonable and in a child state. And in their overall view, they'll realise the teacher even doesn't want to do that. Somehow they hook them. But I don't know if they will... I think they will forgive some of it once they've been heard. I don't know, but it'd be interesting to hear what you say. So if you do this stuff, I'd be very pleased to be emailed, because this is the sort of thing we need to know about. It would be good to be able to say to people that, you know what, you don't even have to follow up. It's not even going to take time. Just let them say something. Have it recorded. Okay, any other observations? Yes?
Over the years, we've used a lot of reflection sheets with kids. When they've done the wrong thing, they go to the coordinator, and especially if they're very informed, and so they have to fill in there, what did you do wrong, what have you learned from this, blah,
yep.
blah, blah, blah. It seems to me that they're a waste of time. And we should all stop doing that immediately and use this as the reflection sheet, because the kids truly do reflect if they're...
Once they've let that, yeah. I mean, if you're in a highly emotional state, whether you're even going to give anything worth giving or whether you're able to give anything worth giving, genuine reflection, if you're very excited and unhappy, it's a good question, yeah. I mean...
It's still a punishment. It's
yeah.
their fault.
Well, you're assuming it's their fault.
If they're given that, you know, you will fill in this reflection sheet to...
It's an interesting thing. It's interesting because that would be a strong criticism and entire approach by Glasser for D's. Glass would say D's, and it might be in a criticism of restorative practices for D's, unless they really get heard in that process. Now they must be, because people who are doing it say the D's improve. And my feeling is that that must mean that the process must allow them to be heard. In some way they are treated like adults, and that's what's having an impact on them. But I don't know, I haven't observed these processes yet.
You saying that giving them the survey would maybe give them some sort of improvement in their behaviour. We did a student action group where the students actually were able to come into a professional development and do a PD with us, with the rest of the staff. And in this particular group, there were about 6 students, and it did improve the behaviour of 2 that I do know of. One in particular just gave her confidence, and she's now sailing instead of being naughty. But the other one, it empowered her to be worse.
Yeah, and that might be the difference between what I'll call a genuine D and someone who's not there yet.
Yeah. And
that's where we're heading now. So when I present this stuff, we're going to talk about genuine Ds, all right? So I want to move through some of that if I can. Now this is where we start. I'm just going to take you back briefly to give you the rundown, very briefly hopefully. So we started there and we moved to here. That's the basis of everything I've done. Then we moved to the idea that there are 4 kinds of kids, and what we're not sure about, and I'm not sure about, is how many really are Cs and how many are Ds. It'll all depend on doing things as well as we can, and the ones who don't respond, like your one who got worse after the PD, that clearly is a D. The others may not be, we just may think they are. And they may not be when they're having the conversation with you, but they may be when they go back in that classroom and they get provoked by something the teacher does or doesn't do, or they assume something about the teacher which is or is not true, like she hates me. So you don't know. The different settings are going to behave different ways, because remember, even though I say D students, they're not D students everywhere. Kids are different in different settings. Okay, so that's that. Then we went to A students and we talked about non-verbal hinting, that kind of idea, right? So having established this with A students, there should be non-verbal hinting, there should be verbal hinting, and they were skills that we spoke about. That's what you're going to try, I hope, over the next 4 years, to work with staff. Because when I went to those 30 visits, I saw the signs, I saw some non-verbal stuff, I did not hear hinting in most of those 30 rooms that I visited, or more than 30 rooms, but 30 schools that I visited, even though they had invited me to come in and see what they'd done. Okay, so the language seems to me to be a second year part of this for some reason. The first year is just getting your head around the whole shift in emphasis. Then to implement it seems to take another year practically. Then we went through the idea of a balanced system of rewards and punishments, because if you're going to move to B students, you want to keep it balanced. And we know that we do not keep it balanced with challenging kids. They get far more negative than positive. Ratio of 7 to 1 when it comes to social behaviour, negative to positive for them. So that would be a huge start if we could somehow think of systems to encourage that. Then we move to language of, shall we say, control or assertive language. And that is something I hear in some schools, but not as much as I thought I would. Not yet. So, but it's a year in, but still not yet. And that's still Bs. Then we realised, okay, so Cs do get sent out because you've got a system, you've got a hierarchy, and then we had this business about a conversation with Cs, which starts like that. We did that last week. And then moves on to things like, and this is where you were saying actually, getting agreement there is a problem, and going through the process. So that's all in your notes, that's where we've been. Is that okay? Is that sort of the background we've got? And it seems so simple when you put up there. The hard thing is somehow to get it going in practice, even though it's really quite straightforward. And that's something I need to talk to you about at some point too. Why is that so? Especially in secondary schools. Why is it so to get teachers to say things differently, even when they want to? Well, you can say something about parents. Why did I do what I did this morning would be a great start. If anyone wants to enlighten me, that would be helpful, because I certainly didn't do anything productive. Okay, now, to help with this, I'm going to ask you to do something. I'm going to give you a list of things. I'm going to ask you to identify the things you'll be best at. So the first one's draw a logo suitable for your school. The second one's write and sing a jingle suitable for your school. Third one, write the text for an ad. Fourth one, figure out how attending your school might change a kid's personal life. 5, prepare with others and perform a play which depicts an ex-student trying to convince a friend to attend your school. Devise a research plan showing how you could figure out what kind of person is most attracted to coming to your school, and do a mime depicting what it's like attending your school. Okay, can you write down 2 numbers as your best and 2 numbers as your worst?